How far would you go to try to stop an incinerator next to your home?
You know, these smells are so strong, you can taste them in the back of your throat.
One of the largest modern incinerators in Britain could be on its way to Merthyr Tydfil, burning most of the country's rubbish.
If that means fighting dirty, stinking schemes like this that nobody wants, nobody cares about, then I will fight to my dying death.
If Merthyr becomes a dumping ground for Wales, then Merthyr can say goodbye to good quality jobs in the future.
The town needs new jobs more than ever. The Hoover factory will close this week, putting hundreds out of work.
This is a major inward investment, £400 million, so it is of national importance.
But we're all responsible for rubbish, and soon putting it in a hole in the ground won't be an option. So if we can't bury it, should we burn it?
One, two, three, whee! There you go.
8-month-old Erin Wordley is having her nappy changed.
Lift those legs.
Millions of nappies are worn, used and chucked out every day.
I guess we all take it for granted. We all just put everything in the bin and then tend to forget about where it actually ends up.
After Emma's recycled and sorted out waste for compost, everything else ends up in the back of a lorry.
You like that side?
All the rubbish in Cardiff that can't be recycled or composted, including Erin's nappies, ends up here. This landfill site has now been in operation for more than 30 years, and in that time, more than 3 million tonnes of rubbish has been dumped here, up to 250 lorry loads every day. But that's all about to change, because the site is almost full, and within 2 years, it'll have to close. What to do with our rubbish in the future is a big headache. Tips across Wales are due to close, and new EU regulations will make putting our rubbish in the ground much more expensive in the future. The days of landfill are effectively over. One solution is this: burning our waste in incinerators. In the 1970s and 80s, incinerators like this one, Rechem in Pontypool, had a bad reputation. The companies that run today's modern incinerators insist they've come a long way. But that's not good enough for these people in Merthyr Tydfil. One of the biggest modern incinerators in Britain is planned near their homes, and they're not happy.
I mean, Merthyr has a poor health record throughout the country. And here we're getting dumped on again.
I think it's disgusting that this town is being used again as collateral damage.
We need somebody in high authority to look to Merthyr and say, enough is enough.
Yes.
No more rubbish on Merthyr Tydfil.
Nearly all the household waste in Wales that can't be recycled or composted, and some commercial waste, would be burnt in the planned modern incinerator. But many people living in Merthyr say they've had enough. First, there was Tricati, a landfill site overlooking the town. Residents who complained about the smell, dust and flies it caused received compensation 6 years ago, believed to total over £1 million. Then came Ffos-y-Fran, one of Europe's largest open-cast coal mines, a stone's throw from Tricati and just 36 metres from the nearest houses. And this is where the new incinerator is planned, at Cwmbargoed. All within a couple of miles of each other, and all within a couple of miles of people's homes in Merthyr.
I think action of some sort must be taken to build up a campaign against this to the wider population of Merthyr.
They're meeting at Alison Austin's house to discuss what they can do to stop the modern incinerator being built. They fought against Ffos-y-Fran and say their worst fears about the open-cast mine have been realised.
Incineration is the largest...
Thousands of people in Merthyr campaigned to stop Ffos-y-Fran. In 2005, they thought they'd won their battle. But a year later, those cheers turned to tears. The High Court's decision to back them was overturned by the Court of Appeal. The diggers and trucks moved in nearly 2 years ago. They'll remain for 17 years, extracting 11 million tonnes of coal.
It's worse than I thought, to be honest. The worst immediate problem we've got is noise. When we've got an easterly wind and they've got the huge earth-moving machines up on the surface, the noise coming from them is absolutely penetrating. It penetrates the house. People are going to have all sorts of problems in years to come because of the diesel emissions, the filthy diesel emissions, the coal dust. Cocktail of these two dust particles are absolutely horrendous, and we've got no way of knowing what it's doing to us.
Why do you think everything comes to Merthyr?
The only jobs coming into this town are low-paid, low-quality jobs, and we should be grateful for them. Such is our desperate need for jobs that they'll accept anything that's offered.
The pressure to find new jobs for the town is more intense than ever. At the end of this week, the historic Hoover factory will close. But for Alison, quality of life for the people of Merthyr should come before jobs.
Everything is being dumped on Merthyr. We have promised the world and it never ever materialises.
Why don't you just move?
I would love to move. There is no way I could sell this house. I couldn't afford to sell it. I don't know of a house that's sold on this estate in the last 3 years, to be honest. To the extent that
in her back garden, Alison monitors the noise levels from the open-cast site. Noise and pollution are her main complaints, and she doesn't want an incinerator to add to her worries.
Low droning frequency, just at you all the time.
It's like a droning noise.
It's a droning, low frequency. It's not road noise where the frequency changes.
The nearest houses to Ffos-y-Fran are just 36 metres away. Just over this mound is the open-cast mine itself. You get a better view up high. Just the other side of that black ridge are the nearest houses, including Terry Evans's.
My worst fear has always, and it still is, the dust coming down from the mountain. I wouldn't know for years to come whether it affected my health or not, because it takes years to come out into your lungs and everything, and it's just something which will catch up with you later in life.
How much do you worry about that?
Well, I'm constantly worried about it because Pamela, my wife, is in a wheelchair. She's housebound here every day virtually, very rarely goes out. So in periods of very dry weather and the dust is airborne about, I worry about the fact that should we go outside, in a nice day and sit about or not.
Terry's filmed what he calls dirty diesel coming from machinery working on the site. The video's been given to Merthyr Council to investigate. Dirt from his car. Terry's cleaning it because he says it's covered in dust from the open-cast mine. There was a heavy dew this morning, which Terry says brought down dust hanging in the air after a dry spell. Ffos-y-Fran's developers are Miller Argent. They've previously offered to pay some residents £25 to have their cars cleaned. Terry declined the offer. Miller Argent insist they are listening to local people's complaints.